He can feel the weight of sleep starting to press on him.
Uh-oh.
He turns the radio on at a low
Don't
volume,
fall asleep.
but that only staves off the drowsiness for a moment.
Do not
He
fall
can't
asleep.
fight the approach of sleep any longer.
Oh,
His
fight
eyes
it.
start to close.
Uh-oh. Alright, this one is SCP-973 Smokey. SCP animation by Dr. Bob. Alright, let's start. Oh.
A group of friends are driving down the highway late at night. They're on their way home from a concert, and after the long night of dancing and partying,
This is one of the older
quite tired.
older videos by Dr. Bob.
And after so much loud music, the silence is refreshing. No one is talking at all, and in fact, the driver notices that both his girlfriend sitting next to him, as well as his friend in the back seat, have fallen asleep. The driver tries to make sure that he doesn't do the same as the car moves down the long stretch of straight, empty highway. The driver's eyes start to grow heavy, though. He can feel the weight of sleep starting to press on him.
Uh-oh.
He turns the radio on at a low
Don't
volume,
fall asleep.
but that only staves off the drowsiness for a moment.
Do
He
not
can't
fall
fight
asleep.
the approach of sleep any longer.
Oh,
His
fight
eyes
it.
start to close.
Uh-oh.
As he drifts off to sleep,
Uh-oh.
his foot presses down slightly more on the accelerator.
And that's
The
how
driver's head slumps to the side as the car
they
gains
die.
speed and begins to pull to the right of where it crosses the white line, marking the edge of the highway. The tires dip off the road into the dirt, and the sudden change causes the driver to jerk back awake. He quickly swerves the car back onto the road. The sudden jolt causes both the passengers to wake up. Is everything okay? The driver tells them that he just swerved to avoid an animal in the road.
Yeah,
That's
right,
nothing
bro.
to be worried about. They can go back to sleep. As both of his friends
Don't
close their
go back
eyes
to
and try
sleep,
go back to
man.
sleep,
Homie's
the driver
tired.
spots something. Lights have appeared
Time
in
to
his
switch
rearview
up.
mirror. It's a pair of headlights. He didn't notice a car pulling out or speeding up behind him, but he must have missed it when he was dozing off. His heart is still racing from when he drifted off the road, and he's trying to regain his composure. But it's about to get a whole lot harder, because when he looks in the mirror again,
Who
he
is
sees
it?
that the telltale red
Oh,
and
they're
blue lights
cops?
of a police cruiser have lit up behind him.
Of course they're cops. It's in the
crap,
thumbnail.
Oh no, the driver says out loud. Everyone is awake now and aware of the cop behind them. They
Okay.
grow nervous and start freaking out. Not all the activities they had partaken in at the concert were, strictly speaking, technically legal in this state. What do we do? The driver asks. You've got to
Pull
pull
over?
says his girlfriend. The cop car's sirens come on. This is serious. But then something strange happens. They hear a voice in the car, coming over the radio. It's too quiet to hear, but when the driver turns up the volume, the message comes through loud and clear. It's a gruff voice that keeps repeating the same phrase over and over. You better run. How is this message coming
What?
over the radio? They don't know, but the passenger in the back seat agrees with the voice. They've got to try and run.
See, I don't
They
even
have
know
to
if
get
I
out
want
of
to
here.
run on that.
The driver's girlfriend is screaming to pull over. The cop car speeds up and is right behind them now, almost on their bumper. Its lights flashing and sirens blaring. The driver doesn't know what to do. Should he pull over? Should he try to run? Everyone is yelling. He starts
Just
to
pull
push
over.
down on the accelerator, but then
And
things
then when
better.
they get out,
There's no way this
when they
old
get out the
can
car,
outrun a cop.
just go drive through.
Finally, he makes the decision to brake and starts to pull the car to the side of the road. The police car comes to a stop behind them. The sirens are off, but the bright lights are almost blinding. They sit in the car and await their fate. But nothing happens. The car is just sitting there behind them. After what
Let's
feels
see
like a
what's
long
gonna happen.
while, the door of the cop car finally opens.
Boom.
The three passengers watch silently as a highway patrol officer steps out and begins approaching their car. The driver tells everyone to relax, that this is going to be just fine, but the passenger in the back starts to panic. He can't get arrested.
There's always
If he
one
does,
guy.
It will mean that he loses his scholarship.
Bruh,
He'll get
there's
kicked out of
always one
school.
guy.
His whole life will be over. The highway patrol officer reaches the car. Despite it being late at night, he's wearing dark aviator sunglasses that cover half of his face. He stands in front of the door to the car and waits. The driver, feeling nervous and afraid, rolls down his window. The police officer doesn't move or react, though. He just keeps standing next to the car. Good evening, officer, the driver says. No response. The driver turns and looks at his girlfriend in the front seat, but all she can do is shrug. He turns
Drive,
back to the highway
drive, bro,
patrolman.
drive.
Did we do something wrong? There's another long pause, but then the patrolman finally reacts. He bends over and leans in close, sticking his head practically through the open window. and putting his tight-lipped face right next to the driver's. Do you want my license and registration? The driver asks. The patrolman doesn't respond. He reaches up and slowly grabs the side of his dark aviator sunglasses. He pulls them down, and the driver finds himself staring into a pair of bright, red, glowing eyes. Evil eyes. Everyone in the car starts to scream as the thing standing in front of them opens its own mouth into a big, black, gaping hole with no gums or teeth, a horrifying void in its face that screams right back at them. As you may have already deduced, this was no normal traffic stop, and certainly not a normal highway patrol officer.
That thing don't look normal
the entity
either.
that this group of young adults encountered that evening was one that dozens before them had the same misfortune of running into, and one that the SCP Foundation is actively trying to stop from engaging in its frightening and dangerous behavior.
SCP-973?
SCP-973. SCP-973 is not one, but actually two separate entities. The first, designated SCP-973-1,
The car is a SCP,
is a
okay.
police cruiser that appears to be a model similar to those used by actual state troopers during the early 1970s, and its condition is much like you would expect for a well-used, nearly 50-year-old vehicle, with much of it being in an advanced state of disrepair. Eyewitness accounts of SCP-973-1 have described the police car as having numerous dents on the doors and hood, cracks in the windshield, multiple rust spots,
I guess he's not a good driver either,
that looks to be held on with duct tape. The vehicle's driver and sole occupant has been designated SCP-973-2. This humanoid figure has an appearance that resembles a Caucasian male in his late 40s. It is dressed in the state trooper uniform that, like 973-1, also looks to have come from the early 1970s. And eyewitnesses have described him as being slightly overweight, balding, and sporting a handlebar mustache. Both the anomalous car and its driver will appear at night in a specific location along a particular U.S. highway. It is unknown exactly what will cause SCP-973 to show up on this road, but Foundation researchers have hypothesized that its manifestation may be triggered when a vehicle accelerates over a certain speed. You may think you're safe
don't be
then
speeding,
if you stay
bro.
below a certain
This
speed,
SCP will
but
get you,
unfortunately,
man.
you'd be wrong. It's unknown exactly what speed limit infraction will lead to SCP-973's appearance.
Never
with reports
mind.
ranging
I don't
from
think it
35
matters.
miles per hour all the way to 70. But when it does occur, the driver will find that they are now a target. SCP-973 will materialize roughly half a kilometer behind the targeted vehicle and will approach them at a high
That
rate
thing
of speed.
spawned in, huh?
SCP-973-1 sirens will turn on and its lights will flash, as it also somehow broadcasts a message into the targeted car that is picked up on the car's radio, a message that urges the driver to run, often accompanied by several
Through the
expletives.
radio? That's crazy,
In
though.
most cases, the targeted vehicle will abide by the instructions over the radio and begin to flee, though it's unlikely that this is due to any mimetic effect. Rather, it would seem that most run
Okay,
out of
what if
pure
you just
terror.
pulled over?
SCP-973 will
Like,
then pursue the targeted
you know?
car, leading to a high-speed chase. No matter how fast the targeted car is, though, the SCP-973-1 police cruiser will always be faster. And it typically takes no more than 6 minutes for them to be overtaken. SCP-973 seems to have no qualms about ramming into the fleeing
Damn.
car, which likely
Kind of
accounts for
engine
the
does it
extreme
have in there?
damage present on the patrol car. While it is unclear exactly what happens once 973 forces the targeted vehicle to stop, either through their own choice or by being rammed off the road, the results are quite disturbing. The vehicle that fled will later be located somewhere near SCP-973's spawning location, usually within roughly 6 kilometers of the road. Whether the vehicles that are found that far from the road drove there in a panic or were somehow transported there by anomalous means isn't clear. What is clear is that the occupants of the cars met a truly grisly fate. Their bodies will show signs of extreme violence and assault, including evisceration.
Jeez.
And some have been so badly maimed and mangled that visual identification was impossible. The vehicles themselves are badly damaged, showing signs of impact from another vehicle, and severe burn damage is often
that
present in
thing
the
will
interior.
Hit your
So
car
far,
too, huh?
over
If you don't
34
stop.
individuals and 19 vehicles have been designated as victims of SCP-973, though it is likely that the true number is much, much higher.
I don't think this is
Perhaps most
contained yet,
terrifying of
huh?
all is that some of the victims survived. The Foundation has recovered 5 individuals from sites of SCP-973 attacks, who, in addition to their gruesome physical injuries,
Yeah, did they
also
get
suffer
amnestic?
from varying levels of ongoing mental trauma. But why not just destroy the road that SCP-973 appears on, you ask? Well, the Foundation had this same idea.
Good question.
And in 1983, the section of highway affected by SCP-973 was demolished in an attempt to stop it from manifesting. This attempt failed, though. All this led to was SCP-973 changing its location, where it immediately began engaging in the same deadly behavior.
Wait, can you
Numerous
even
attempts
contain
have
this
also been
thing?
made to try and capture both 973-1 and -2. In one such event, several teams of SCP Foundation containment specialists
Yeah,
were
I don't
dispatched
think
to
they
a
can
section of highway
contain
with a
this
mission
one.
to subdue and contain the anomaly.
Best they can do
After
is
multiple
close the
attempts
road,
to
right?
get SCP-973 to appear by driving down the highway at various speeds, a car carrying several agents was finally successful, and they spotted the flashing red and blue lights of 973-1 behind them as the message telling them to run began playing over the radio. With no further warnings, the anomalous police car closed in on them, even faster than the agents were expecting, and immediately began ramming into their car. A van filled with additional containment specialists was dispatched to the area to help, and when they reached the area that the GPS tracker on the pursued car led them to, they found that they were too late. SCP-973
Damn.
had pushed the agent's car
What is he
far
doing?
off the
Is he
road
eating him?
and was ruthlessly tearing their bodies apart. The arriving containment team immediately began firing on 973 in an attempt to save their fellow Foundation agents. The team's weapons appeared to cause some injuries to 973-2, showing that it is perhaps vulnerable to lasting damage, just like the 973-1 vehicle is.
Okay,
In a
that's
post-mission
good.
interview, one of the agents described SCP-973's new appearance. His eyes were red, and his mouth, it was just a black hole. No teeth, no tongue, just a hole. No other reports would come from this incident, though, as
It's
this
like the
agent
shy
was the
guy,
only
bro. The
survivor.
shy guy with a big mouth, right?
SCP-973 killed the other 9 agents and fled the scene. While it is believed that the Foundation team was able to wound the anomalous creature, it was neither contained nor incapacitated in any real sense.
So is this
The
like
next report
Catter?
of a 973 incident occurred just 9 days
Or
later.
just like not contained
SCP-973's
at all?
ability to seemingly appear at a new location and the difficulty it has shown in being contained has gotten it a well-earned Euclid classification.
Euclid?
The roughly 60 kilometers of highway on which it is known to appear is under satellite surveillance at all times, and all traffic between 10 p.m. and 4:30 a.m. is diverted along a non-highway detour route, by force if necessary. Unfortunately for the SCP Foundation and the general highway-using populace, these security protocols have necessitated frequent updates. Because while the area that SCP-973
It moves.
engages in its predatory behavior on is well known, both the time of day during which it will appear and the area it seems to affect
Yeah, I thought
are
so.
expanding. Now go and watch another entry from the files of Dr. Bob, like
thought so.
SCP-745, the headlights.
Like that thing, like when they destroyed the road for it, like it just moved somewhere, right? So I'm not surprised that if they close the road, or if just like, you know, yeah, if they close the road, I'm not surprised that this thing's just gonna move somewhere else. But how do you contain this thing? I don't think this one's containable, right? Because it's like it's just gonna keep moving. Unless I think the only way to beat this guy is just to destroy him, right? Because we know like the car's getting beat up, and he's not invulnerable. He can get shot and he starts bleeding. So I think the best way the best way of beating this thing is just to eliminate it. Might take like few tries and stuff like that, but SCP Foundation got it right. All right.